You got up to refill your water, and before you'd taken 2 steps, you heard it. That soft scrabble of paws on the floor behind you. The dog is up. There's nothing in the kitchen for it. Nothing happened. You moved, so it moved, and now it's standing in the doorway watching you choose between 2 glasses like it's the most important decision in the house. Most people might explain this one of 2 ways. Either the dog is a little anxious and hates being alone, or it just loves you that much. All of this feels true, but neither is really what the research has landed on. For about 25 years now, animal behavior labs have been taking this exact thing apart. The following, the shadowing, the way a dog plants itself a few feet from wherever you happen to be. What they keep finding doesn't sound much like anxiety, and it doesn't sound much like devotion either. It's something quieter than both, and once you can see it, the dog in your doorway stops looking needy and starts looking like it knows something you don't. There's a name for these dogs. Velcro dogs. The first time you hear it, it sounds like the label for a problem, like the dog got stuck to you by accident. The science points the other way. This genuinely changed how I see dogs compared to other animals. Start with one of the older experiments because it set up everything that came after. In 1998, Josef Topal and his colleagues at Eötvös Loránd University in Budapest took a test built for human babies and ran it on dogs. The original version watched how a small child behaved in an unfamiliar room. Parent there, then gone, then back, then a stranger in the chair instead. In securely attached kids, the pattern was steady. With the parent in the room, they explored, they wandered, handled things, took small risks. The parent wasn't doing anything in particular. Just being there changed how brave the child was willing to be. Topal's team put 51 dogs through their own version of that room. The dogs did the same thing the children did. With their owner present, they explored more, settled faster, stayed bolder around objects they'd never seen before. Take the owner out of the room, and a lot of that nerve left with them. The dogs went quieter, smaller, less willing to investigate. And here's the part that rules out simple loneliness. A stranger sitting in the very same chair didn't replace the effect. It wasn't about having a body in the room, it had to be their person. That's the whole reframe. Right there, your dog isn't fixed to you because it can't cope without you. It stays close because with you nearby, the entire house feels more manageable to it. Behaviorists borrowed a phrase from the child research and handed it to dogs. They call you a secure base. You're the fixed point the dog reads the rest of the room against, a companion at its side that turns the unfamiliar into something it can handle. So the dog parked in your doorway isn't stuck to you. For it, that spot is the most meaningful, most reliable place in the world. There's a second thing underneath this, though. Something more physical that explains why following is the exact shape the bond takes. We'll get to that. For now, next time it trails you somewhere with no reason to be there, you don't have to do anything about it. Just let it land near you and settle. Let it follow you. Here's the second thing, the one that explains the physical mechanics of all this following. When a dog runs into something it can't make sense of, a noise it can't place, a problem it can't crack, a situation that's gone a bit wrong, it does something specific. It turns its head and looks at you. And that tiny move turns out to be one of the deepest differences between a dog and the animal it came from. In 2003, Adam Miklosi and his team, the same Budapest group, set up a clean comparison. They took dogs and wolves that had been raised around people to roughly the same degree, taught both to solve a simple task to get at some food, then rigged the task so it could no longer be opened. The wolves did what you'd expect a capable wild animal to do. They kept working the problem, pawing, pulling, trying to brute force their way in. The dogs tried too for a while, then they stopped, lifted their heads, and looked back at the human standing nearby. The wolves almost never did that. The dogs did it again and again. Don't you find that surprising? If someone had asked me before I knew about this experiment, I'd have said without a doubt that the wolf would be the one that wouldn't give up. That glance is the whole thing. The dog hits the edge of what it can handle alone and checks in with you, the way you'd glance at the person next to you when something unexpected happens in a room. Researchers describe the dog as using you like a live source of information about a world it's still trying to read. Less a backup pair of paws, more a second opinion. Now sit with what that glance actually requires. To check your face, the dog has to be able to see your face, which means a lot of the room-to-room shadowing isn't really about closeness for its own sake. It's about keeping you inside its sightlines so the option is there the second it needs it. Every time your dog gets up because you wandered into another room, it's not clinging. It's keeping the line open. Take Rocky, my own dog. He used to do a version of this that took me years to understand. He'd settle right in the doorway between 2 rooms. Never all the way into the one I was in, never all the way out. just at the seam where one eye could hold me and the other could watch the hall. I couldn't make sense of it. Once you've seen the glance, you start noticing who the dog aims it at. In a house with more than one person, there's almost always one favorite, the one the dog tracks harder than the rest. People take it personally in both directions, but it probably isn't about who loves the dog most or who feeds it. Dogs tend to orient toward whoever is the most reliable signal that something is about to happen, who reaches for the leash, who's getting up, more often than not, turns into something a dog actually cares about. When you walk from one room to the next, your dog isn't only tracking your body, it's tracking the odds that you're about to become interesting. So here's the one I actually want to know, because the answer is never random. In your house, which person does your dog pick? And what does that person do that the others don't quite manage? Drop it below. The pattern is usually hiding in plain sight. For tonight, try this. Next time your dog stalls at something it isn't sure about and turns to find you, don't rush past it. Let it see your face stay easy. That look is a question, and you're the one it's asking. There's one worry that tends to sit underneath all of this. If my dog won't let me out of its sight, is something wrong? Is this the start of separation anxiety? For most dogs, the answer is no, and there's a study that draws the line cleanly. In 2006, Vali Parthasarathi and Sharon Crowell Davis at the University of Georgia took 32 dogs with diagnosed separation anxiety and 43 without, and measured how much each one stuck close to its owner. If hyperattachment were the engine behind separation anxiety, the anxious dogs should have shadowed their people far more. They didn't. The dogs with separation anxiety spent no more time near their owners than the dogs without it. The constant proximity wasn't the symptom. It showed up just as much in the dogs who were completely fine. That matters because it means following everywhere and separation anxiety are two different things wearing similar clothes. They can overlap, but one is not evidence of the other. The real difference is in what happens when you step away, and it's easier to read than you'd think. A Velcro dog follows you when it can, then lets it go when it can't. You leave the room, it grumbles, gets up, resettles, and a minute later, it's asleep. It chooses your company while the choice is on the table, and it copes when the table is cleared. A dog with a genuine separation problem can't get there. The distress doesn't fade once you're out of reach. It climbs. The dog can't settle, can't disengage, can't talk itself down, and a few minutes alone looks less like waiting and more like coming apart. Following is part of a healthy bond. That second pattern is a nervous system asking for help, and it's worth getting that help early, before the dog learns to dread the sound of your keys. So if your dog watches you all day but drops into a quiet snooze the moment the door clicks shut behind you, you don't have a dog with a problem. You have a dog doing exactly what it's supposed to do. And shaped is the right word, because none of this was an accident. Most of what we've been describing, the staying close, the checking in, the pull to keep you in view, isn't something a single dog invents in a single lifetime. It's old. Over thousands of years of living at the edge of human fires and homes, the dogs that did best were the ones that found being near us worth the trouble, that read us well and stayed close enough to keep reading. Wolves never went down that road. The animal in your hallway is the result of a very long sorting, run not for size or speed, but for the willingness to attend to a person. What feels like a quirk on your kitchen floor is really the last stretch of that history, still playing out. Here's the part most people never quite land on. That shadow at your heels isn't asking you to entertain it or to never leave. It's running a quiet, constant check that you're still there, still readable, still the steady thing it measures the rest of the day against. You don't have to make it stop. You don't have to feel crowded by it. You just have to be worth checking on, which, if your dog keeps choosing the doorway you're behind, you already are. So the next time you catch it there, a few feet back, watching you for no reason it could explain, you don't need to read anything into it beyond what's true. It found the most reliable thing in its world, and it would rather keep that in sight than do almost anything else. Let it. Then go refill that glass of water. It'll be right behind you.